drops on my rustic gloves, breathing in the factory dust. Another sunrise, same old road. Steel yard shadow, boots on gravel. Tag reads Warden on the jacket panel. Shovel in my hand, spine on fire. Swing through the scrap like a worn out wire. Smoke in my lungs, cough out iron. Hands keep shaking but I keep on trying. 20 spent shells in a burlap sack. Every swing say go home but I swing right back. I'm just scraping by on scrap and bone, digging out hope from the broken stone. Every scar I carry feels carved in chrome, but I won't lay down, I won't lay down. Under fire, under weight I've known. I'm the last one holding this ragged road. You can bend my body, can't break my code, cause I won't lay down, I won't lay down. I won't lay down. Chain link fences, frost on the cable. Cold tin plate on a shaky table. Rations on a crate, boots in a line. Dead eyes stare at the assembly sign. Sirens howl, orders on the loudspeaker. More scrap, make the front line meaner. Knuckles split open on a jagged beam. Red on the rust where the floodlights gleam. Drop friends off where the white flags faded. Names in the mud that the rain degraded, but I still hear them in the back of my skull. Can't stand tall when the world gets dull, so I slam that card through the frozen gutter. Heartbeat loud through the grind and the clutter. If the war eats men like a metal machine, I'll jam my will in between those chains. I'm just scraping by on scrap and bone, digging out hope from the broken stone. Every scar I carry feels carved in chrome, but I won't lay down, I won't lay down. Under fire, under weight I've known. I'm the last one holding this ragged road. You can bend my body, can't break my code, cause I won't lay down, I won't lay down. Won't lay down. Day after day, same gray sky, same gray clay. Is there more than this grind, this gravy? Or am I forced to obey? Hands in the dirt, praying through hurt. If I'm nothing but gears, why do I feel every tear? I am more than rust on their war machine. I am more than a ghost in a steel canteen. When the front line calls my name, I'll drag these chains like a hurricane. I'm just scraping by on scrap and bone, digging out hope from the broken stone. Every scar I carry feels carved in chrome, but I won't lay down, won't lay down. Under fire, under weight I've known. I'm the last one holding this ragged road. You can bend my body, can't break my code, cause I won't lay down, won't lay down. I won't lay down, won't lay down. Clock in, blue coat, steel boots, stained hands. Stamping shells, wrong molds, wrong plans. Every crate I pack, they send it back with the red tag. Bad batch. Sweat fogs up the visor, supervisor side eye like a sniper. Two slips, scrap pile growing. I'm here, but it feels like I'm nowhere showing. Why is every step a landmine? Why does the line leave me behind? I'm trying to carry this war on my spine, but all I hear is stand aside. For They toss me keys like a joke. Drive the junk kid, don't choke. Rust rails, long line, low hope. Then the throttle kicks and my chest erupts. Metal screams, but it sings to me. Every turn, every stop, your memory. No misprint here, no failed design. Just me in the hall on a perfect line. Now every clank is a heartbeat. Every break kiss feels like release. I'm not lost in the crowd at the workbench seat. Got a map in my veins and it all runs on grease. I was born for the scoop train calling. Steel wheels sing and I stop falling. Load it up, roll out, keep that engine humming. Back and forth all day, I just keep on running. From the yard to the factory, I finally fit on this scoop train line. Yeah, I don't miss a shift. Yeah, they laugh when I drop those crates. Now they wait on my track for their war-made fate. If I'm late, the lines go dark, the plans all break. So I slam that limit or feel the framework shake. Wrong place, wrong job, wrong name on the list. Thought I was just another pair of nervous fists. But give me rust, give me weight, give me gravel and chain. I'll move mountains every day with this rattling train. From you're useless to don't you dare quit. Now the radio crackles. Driver, you're it! I was born for the scoop train calling. I was born for the scoop train calling. Steel wheels sing and I stop falling. Load it up, roll out, keep that engine humming. Back and forth all day, I just keep on running. From the yard to the factory, I finally fit on this scoop train line. Yeah, I don't miss a shift. Boots down in the screwed fields, gray sky, same grind, same note, hands raw from the salvage, rust dust cutting my throat. Tourists watching the horizon, walls humming like a storm about to speak. I'm the name on every blueprint, I'm the one who never sleeps. Every crate on the front line got my fingerprints inside. When the map turns blue around us, they'll know who kept us alive. I'm the warden in the wire, medic gamer under fire, all alone in this iron hive. Solo in the fortress, keeping dreams alive. Yeah, the nights get long and the days cut deep, but I build these crates so my brothers breathe. I'm the warden in the wire, holding up the fire, holding up the fire. Conveyor belts sing at sunrise, engines coughing back to life. Metal rivers through the choke points, feeding teeth for every fight. Thought of dropping my hammer, just walking off into the storm. But the radio cracks with their voices and the doubt falls to the floor. Every shell on the sandbags has a story with my name. If I disappear tomorrow, who's gonna feel their flame? I'm the warden
All right, guys, it looks like they're opening up the stream, so we'll go ahead and move on over to that. But yes, I am freaking dialed into this. I'm ready to go. I hope everybody's excited as much as I am. The little bit that I do know is Naval War is currently ongoing. They said that it's going to be a short war. They're scheduling the end for Monday, February 2nd, so I would assume that we'll get some kind of, start date very shortly thereafter, maybe that Tuesday, Wednesday, possibly. So yeah, I guess we'll find out. We'll see what they say in the live stream today. But while we're waiting on that, we'll throw the music back on, and once they get going, we'll listen in. I guess it would help if I turn the music back on. Whoops. But yeah, you guys don't forget about the Discord. I've got the link in the chat. Get verified on that. Hopefully we can get a good group of people to get together and do some cool stuff. I'd like to do some ops, maybe some facility stuff. You guys know I love doing all of it. So, like I said, hit up the Discord, get verified, and we'll see you in the game.
Same map, same muddy front line, same cold digital chill. Name tag glowing metagamer, blue star on his sleeve. Every crate on his back says I ain't got time to leave. He's a warden soldier, hauling that load, scooping his pockets, still on the road. Savage and components stacked high on the floor. All day, every day, metagamers fighting this war. Yeah, all day, every day, metagamers winning this war. Dust trails out that old truck bed, tracks cut deep in the brown. He knows each field, each depot, every foxhole, every town. If the front line's running empty, they call his name in chat. By the time their guard drops to zero, he's already fixed that. He's a warden soldier, hauling that load, scooping his pockets, still on the road. Savage and components stacked high on the floor. All day, every day, metagamers fighting this war. He don't fire the first.
All right, you guys, real quick, if you don't mind, hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Appreciate y'all watching the live stream. Hopefully they'll get started here momentarily.
But your victory runs through. He's a warden soldier, hauling that load, scooping his pockets, still on the road. Savage and components stacked high on the floor. All day, every day, metagamers fighting this war.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what they do as well with the the airplanes and stuff. I don't know if they're gonna do like a release all at one time with the different kinds, like the bombers and fighters, or if they're just gonna, you know, do like fighters and then do bombers later, or vice versa. But I guess we'll kind of find out. That is, if they ever release it.
Boots in the dirt at the break of dawn. Same gray coat, same old spawn. Name tag shining proud on his chest. Metagamer stitched above the rest. Warden flag flaps on the broken wall. He hears need help on the distant call. Pickaxe swinging through the dust and smoke, turning bust of steel into one more hole. He's a screw man, savage in his hands. Come stacked higher than the trenches in the sand. All day, every day, under that foxhole sky. Tirelessly grinding while the time creeps by. He's a screw man, building up the core. Method gamer, working just to win this war.
So, what do y'all think about the music? It's AI music, but it's kind of been a little hobby of mine, starting to make these Foxhole, specifically Warden songs. Now, let me know what y'all think about the music.
Chase glory on the front line, roar. He's sweating in the rear, making sure there's more. He's a screw man, savage in his hands. Come stacked higher than the trenches in the sand. All day, every day, under that foxhole sky. Tirelessly grinding while the time creeps by. He's a screw man, building up the core. Medic gamer, working just to win this war. He ain't the one they write medals for.
I'm going to hand it over to Mark so that he can catch you up and we can start showing you all the stuff that we've been working on.
Yeah, it's been a big update and finally excited. We've been holding on to this for a long time and we're finally really excited to show you guys what we've been working on all this time. First, I want to just talk a little bit about
How's the still no sound?
what led to this update.
We good on sound now?
For those that are new, we set out to build Foxhole almost 10 years now, just about getting around that mark. We set out to build this persistent online war where there's thousands of players working together, not just on the combat side, but for every aspect of the war, making items, running supply lines, every aspect of the war, we wanted it to be driven by players. And there was really just a few simple principles that we've stuck to over the years. We've always tried to prioritize the gameplay. We haven't been afraid to try new things or to take risks, even if sometimes we miss the mark on some of these things, which we have. We've always tried to just continue to work at it, to iterate, to improve upon. But we've never shied away from trying to tackle big new features that we felt were crucial to fulfill the vision of the game, which Airborne is one of those, as you'll hopefully see today. And what we're going to show you today represents just one of the bigger steps in the journey. It's been one of the hardest updates we've worked on up to this point, and after 63 updates. And yeah, there's a lot of parts of this. It's not only Airborne, there's other things we have to show, and we're excited to show it. So just wanted to show a brief update for, again, those that are new, join us over the last year. Here's just a summary of some of the updates we've done over the years. It's all the art that we've done for it, and it's just nice to see it all in one place here. There's actually more updates than what's shown here, but we got to the point where we couldn't fit it all on one screen. So, but yeah, let's jump into the first part of the update here, which isn't planes, but it's something cool. So we'll start with this video. Yeah, so this is the first big feature we want to show off of the update. We've done a overhaul of all the visuals the environment visuals in the game, to be specific. Um, and there's a couple of goals that we had for this. One is that we felt that other parts of the game, like the vehicles and the structures, had increased. We've increased the visual quality of them over the years as we've worked on the game. And one thing that we wanted to do was to go back to the actual world and the environment and to bring the visuals of those parts of the game up to the standards of everything else. So this was a massive effort. Um, we've updated every tree, every blade of grass, every bush in the game, and we've also done this for each of the biomes in the game. We had to create new art for all of this, but the result is an environment that looks a lot more up to date with the rest of the game. And another big goal of this was when we came to work on Airborne, we really wanted to make sure that the world looked appropriate from high up in the sky. And a lot of the environment that we had originally made was not made to look appropriate from that high of a camera angle. So besides the actual visual art, we also did a bunch of engineering work to make rendering look appropriate from the sky. In fact, when we first tested out flying planes, the world looked very strange. A lot of the environment was not visible because of the way that the world was rendered, and we had to put a lot of work into making sure that shadows and structures and rocks and trees were all being shown from afar. And this has just been a massive effort. When you design a game to be made on the ground initially, and later on you want to make the game playable from the sky, it is a lot of work. So we're really excited about this. But Matt, maybe you can talk a little bit more about the process here.
Yeah, so one of the big things that we wanted to do was to make sure that the game still felt like Foxhole. We didn't want it to suddenly become something new or like hyper realistic, but we wanted to bring some of the visuals more in line, both thematically as well as just with the way that the art had kind of evolved in different ways. And so I wouldn't expect there to be like a whole bunch of new like little details or like facets to the world that weren't there before. It's just that a lot of the world has been updated, especially like we're talking like the natural environment, so foliage, grass, some of the some of the town textures and things like that have been updated. And one of the places that I think especially benefits a lot from the work that we've done here is the northern biome, which was a little bit flat, in my opinion, previously. It was something that we had worked really hard to try to figure out, but there wasn't really too many good solutions at the time for the way that we were doing some of the art, our workflow. So we also changed the workflow for how a lot of this stuff is done, which allows us to get a little bit more out of every like inch of the world without having to do a ton of like manual like work that would be otherwise incredibly time consuming for a team as small as ours. So we were able to take some of our experience and reapply it, given that we were doing this big overhaul. So a lot of what you're going to see is new areas that maybe feel like they have or pretty old areas, sorry, that maybe feel like they have a fresh coat of paint. And it'll be kind of exciting to see how like videos and things like that come about as you guys dig into this. But one of the other big things is we are doing our absolute very best to make sure that like if you could play Foxhole well previously, you will be able to play Foxhole well now on the same sort of settings that you had before. That's the goal. Hopefully we will be able to continue to iterate and update and make sure that performance is where it needs to be, as well as the dev branch goes through and everything like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you getting your hands on this stuff.
The Foxhole GeoGuessr is going to need some major updates.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now we said that, let's get into the meat of the update. So let's talk about Airborne, right? So one of the things we did at the beginning was we wanted to set our goals straight for this update, because our goal was not to build the best flight simulator or to try to make a game, to try to build an aircraft game that is comparable to other aircraft focused games. Our goal was to build the best thing that will make the parts of Foxhole special, even more special, right? So we wanted to enhance the persistent war, and what we wanted to do was not only worry about what you're doing in the sky, but to worry about what's happening on the ground. Questions like, how do you build a plane? That should be a big deal in Foxhole. How do you supply the plane? How do ground crews keep your aircraft operational? These were the parts of um, aircraft and aircraft gameplay that we wanted to focus the most on, and we also wanted to just make sure that it worked really well with the land and the naval warfare games as well. And finally, large scale player collaboration. We want to make sure that the big focus was on working together. If you're up in the skies, you could be most effective not by flying alone on your own trying to be a hero, but to work together with your crew on the ground. So that was a big focus of the gameplay. And without further ado, we want to give you guys a first look at how flying planes looks like in Foxhole. Let's take a look. All right, that's how aircraft are going to work in Foxhole. So let's just talk about some of the basics first. Um, Aircraft are fully controlled by players. It kind of goes without saying. There's different types of aircraft. There's fighters. There's bombers. There's scout planes. Other types of planes. And one of the things that we've done is we've chosen a level of simulation here for the planes that's designed to feel similar to other parts of the game. So we weren't trying to make an accurate flight simulator. We wanted to make it feel like it's in the same style of the infantry gameplay, of the vehicle gameplay, and the naval gameplay that we already had. But one thing that is um, a slight difference is that a high level of skill, more so than other parts of the game, more skill is required in to fly. Um, there is failure in flying. When you take off and land, these are things that you have to practice to try to get right. It's not something that you can necessarily get right on the first try. And that's in part because the flight model was made to feel physically based, as parts of your aircraft are wrecked, or the physics model will react to that and the plane becomes harder to fly. So that's all to say that the flying experience is going to be a step up from driving a boat or driving a tank in the game. And to that end, crashing is a part of the game as well. And there is an eject function as well. You can eject from your plane if you're equipped with a parachute, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. Then you can survive the crash. Finally, aircraft can cross the region borders, similar to the land vehicles. And to get a little bit more into user interface, talking about aircraft being a bit more skill-based, more information was required for the player on the HUD. So this is what the aircraft HUD looks like in game. And to go over a couple of these things here, the VSI and the heading are there, useful to help players find, to locate airfields and to land. And then the altitude and the ground instruments are there to help you do a pair drop, or if you're doing a bombing run, that's information that it is critical for that. And also there's a landing gear indicator, to because that's a big part of taking off and landing. And then finally, the altitude indicator here just helps. It's an indicator that helps, that is on not only your plane but on the planes around you. And then the next thing I want to talk about is uniforms. So pilot uniforms are required to fly most planes in the game. And one thing to note is that the uniforms themselves are valuable. And the other thing, moreover, to state, which we'll get into more later, is that the planes themselves are extremely valuable resources, and the uniforms and the pilot themselves is considered a part of that value. So when you're flying up there, you would want to prefer to salvage your plane as opposed to crashing it, and that's both because of the plane and the pilot uniform. But I do want to note that there are some planes in the game, specifically the scout plane, that it doesn't require a pilot uniform, and therefore it's more accessible to more players. So not everyone is gonna have to engage with this high value planes. Everyone's gonna get a chance to fly. And to jump ahead here to the roles, so there's, like Foxhole fashion, there's different roles that players can take on. Obviously, there's the pilots, there's the gunners, and that works very similar to how it works in other vehicles. There's other roles here, like the bomber role. You're there to manage the bay doors and to drop the bombs. And there's also a co-pilot role on planes like the Paratrooper plane that's responsible for opening the ramp for a paradrop. And then there's also other roles here, like managing the air brake on some planes like the dive bomber. Moving on to air combat for a moment here. So fighters can intercept and engage the bombers, paratrooper planes, and other aircraft. And those aircraft themselves can fight back the fighters. And one thing I do want to talk about here is the damage models on the planes. So let me just orient this here. So the damage model is a big part of the gameplay. Aircraft consist of different parts: wings, tails, and engines. And these parts can be wrecked or totaled. And as that happens, as damage is taken, the function of the aircraft will start to fail in different ways. The aircraft is going to be harder to fly, and the physics are going to react to it, right? So if your wing is torn off, you will start to struggle. If your tail is torn off, you will start to struggle even more, and you probably won't be able to fly the plane anymore. But as mentioned about the value of the plane, you will want to land your plane at that point and try to salvage it as opposed to crashing. So a big part of the game is trying to manage when it's time to return to your airfield and to try to fix your plane as opposed to losing it out there. And at this point, Max, I think I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, all right. So yeah, we had a lot of fun with this. So an aircraft can we are simulating a simple form of physics with these aircraft. So a lot of what I learned a lot about how aircraft works from working on these aircraft. But you'll start to get a sense for it once you start to feel the aircraft fall apart, exactly how integrated the physics are into these aircraft. So, for example, when a wing gets wrecked, like you can see in the top left there, the lift of that wing is going to decrease, which is going to tilt the aircraft to the left and sort of pull the aircraft left. But you can offset that by using your rudder or your elevators to sort of shift right. And like I said, you'll get a sense for it once you're actually flying it, but it's really cool that as the aircraft starts to fall apart, as parts become damaged or wrecked and destroyed, that the aircraft starts to lose its functionality, starts to become harder to maneuver, might even like start to climb and stall out. So the more practice you have in these aircraft, the better you're going to be as a pilot, but also the more likely you are going to be able to return to the airfield if you're taking significant damage. And as Mark pointed out, you'll want to try to recover the aircraft, even if you are taking tremendous amounts of damage. Even if you can't make it all the way back to the airfield, you might aim to land in friendly territory, for example, because even recovering parts of the plane would be a significant advantage or a significant cost savings to replacing it. So there's a lot of different kinds of actions that you can take as these aircraft. We've got the bombing runs, which you're meant to target land targets like facilities and soft structures. You can damage bunkers as well, but the expectation here is you should need a number of bombers to be able to do significant damage. We have dive bombers, which will be able to target land and sea vehicles. They'll have bonuses to subsystem disable chances. Torpedo planes, which obviously target ships. We got some really cool mechanics with that as well, which we'll get into later. And strafing runs. So the fighters will be able to target, like, they're predominantly meant for targeting logistics and disrupting like ground-based, like back behind the lines efforts, but you can also strafe frontline targets. But fighters have other roles as well, like protecting against bombing runs and shooting down scout planes.
All right, let's take a look at anti-air.
Someone in chat is like, how do you even target? Yeah, you'll see. It's fun. So there'd be two kinds of machine guns. There'll be two kinds of two kinds of anti-air that you can utilize against the aircraft. Some of the machine guns will be able to tilt up and be able to target aircraft directly, like fighters when you're coming in for a strafing run. Many of the ships will be able to do this. So true to history, the machine guns on the decks of the ships will help prevent like runs against the ship. And then we have these cannons, which are these anti-air emplacements, these flak guns, which will operate very similarly to artillery. They shoot into the sky, and you have to try to land hits. There'll be an explosion that lingers in the air that planes could fly through and take damage. Again, true to history. And it will require team effort to try to hit something moving that fast, that high.
All right, we'll just take a really quick look at the emplacements for each side.
Yeah, so this is the Colonial one. Both of these, the Colonial one and the Warden one, are very similar in functionality. There'll be one gunner who's there for to rotate it and also set the range, and the one gunner who actually has to set the pitch as well. So it's not done automatically. You have to figure out the pitch for the gun that needs to point up, and then try to figure that out or figure out the pitch needed to get the elevation you want to hit the aircraft in the sky. Here's the Warden one. Again, functionality is very similar. Cool. So how do you spot them coming? How do you know when to get on the AA guns? Well, we've got a couple of forms of air intelligence. We've actually split intel between land and air, so you can't see both at the same time. You'll want to see, so you'll have to set up specific structures for detecting aircraft, and then you'll have to utilize them for alerting your team that there's an air operation underway. So this is the radar structure. This is a new large structure, which has two functions. One is the detection of air intel, similar to like a watchtower, but for detecting aircraft. It has a very large cone that you can rotate, so you can point it in the direction that you want it to face for detecting aircraft. It also has a seat that will be useful for the aforementioned pitch, trying to figure out the range, the distance for artillery batteries to target aircraft. So you'll want to place your AA batteries near these structures to maximize your effectiveness.
Right. Now let's talk about aircraft logistics with this video coming up.
There's a lot of questions in chat. I just want to remind you guys, we will do Reddit QA later, so don't worry about it. As Mark said for earlier on, the emphasis that we really wanted, we didn't want to lose focus of what Foxhole really is. This Foxhole is a game that takes place on the ground. It's a logistics game. It's an infantry game. It's a tank game, a naval game. Everything that happens on the ground should be as important as everything new that we're adding here. So Airborne, as much as it is the center of this update, we also wanted to make sure that we brought it back down to earth. What is it that you need to do to get aircraft running? What do you need to do to keep it maintained? A lot of our effort, like we said in the dev blog back in December, is supposed to be focused on the ground crews. It's well and good that it takes a lot of skill to be a pilot in the air, but you have to. What good is a pilot without the team that's dedicated to keeping their aircraft in tip-top shape? So, toward that end, we have airfields. These are placed throughout the world. These are world structures. But they are not the only places where you can take off some aircraft. So the airfields will be required for specific air operations. It will consist of three main structures: the runway itself, which has two tiers for smaller, tier 1 for smaller aircraft, tier 2 for larger. It's got a hangar for building the smaller aircraft, like the scout planes, and it's got an aircraft depot for storing the planes and constructing them and bringing stuff in. And it sort of acts as the central logistical point for that airfield. Think of it kind of like a seaport, but for aircraft. So how we build the aircraft. So this is where a lot of the teamwork comes in. So just like with large ships, how it requires a whole team to operate, not just people manning the guns, but people maintaining the ship itself. There will need to be a team of people who are keeping your aircraft running. And furthermore, they need to be out in the open. We really wanted it to be not some like UI thing. We wanted it to be all out in the open. You could see people walking around on the airfield, putting stuff together. So you'll build the airframe, which is constructed at the large assembly station. You'll bring that to the depot, which creates this, you can see in the background image, this kind of like airframe that's sort of missing all of its parts. Then you'll construct the parts, bring them over on trailers and small trains, and then submit them to the aircraft to put it together. There'll be many different kinds of parts that you need to for different kinds of aircraft, and then you'll You'll need to produce the ammunition at factories and at the ammunition factories. An important note is that even a lot of this sounds really complicated, and it's meant to be a team effort, but there is a small aircraft, that scout plane, that you can build without doing any of this. That doesn't need any facilities or anything. So smaller groups of players can choose to operate smaller aircraft, which will have less complexity. But even solo players can get a taste of flight by playing in the scout plane without dealing with any of this stuff. So here's a screenshot of here's screenshots of generally what this will look like. You'll need to refuel your aircraft, which will be a huge part of aircraft. Having airfields that are close to the front will allow you to refuel them and get more flight time and give you an advantage in dogfights or in operational range. You'll need to assemble them together as a team. This can take time, and disassemble as well for repairing. When aircraft takes damage, it's a process to get those parts repaired. You'll need to take them off. You'll need to repair the underlying core structure, and you'll need to rearm them as well. You'll have to bring in the ammunition necessary. Some of them are large items, some of them are not. And yeah, it should be. Our expectation is that over time, or is that there will be a whole host of people on the ground. Air traffic controllers, even repair crew directors, people needed to keep flights of aircraft in the sky.
Awesome. And I think we're about on schedule, Max, for this next part, which I'm personally pretty excited about. So let's get to it. All right, let's talk about paratroopers. So, just to talk about how you equip and prepare for a paratrap, you obviously need a paratrooper plane. You need a pilot and a co-pilot to fly it. And if you want to suit up, you need a uniform and a paratrooper backpack, which obviously contains the paratrooper. I mean, the parachute. And everybody walks onto the ramp, and they load up onto the paratrooper plane, and the pilot flies it to the target location. The co-pilot will open the ramp, and to actually paradrop, it doesn't take much. You just walk off the ramp, and your parachute will automatically open. And then that's essentially how it works if you want to drop behind enemy lines. One important feature here is that once you jump out and once you hit the ground, paratroopers will be invisible to map intel for a period of time after dropping. Right now, that's around 30 minutes, but that time duration is obviously subject to change. And we'll just want to take a look at the two uniforms here. Here's the Colonial uniform, and here is the Warden one. And then there's also the backpack item here that is required to drop. And just to note, if you can jump out without a parachute, which is not a good idea. If you're over encumbered, your parachute will fail to deploy as well. So it's possible to have accidents, and you need to be prepared. So, and having said that, I think it's time to look at the aircraft for each faction, and I guess we will start with the Colonials here. All right.
Man, it's hard to believe how much time has gone by since we started working on these. It's been like 8 months. I know you get the community. You probably felt like it's been years, but we've
Oh, it's been
working
a
on
lot
these for-
longer than that. When we started working on the prototype, it's been almost 2 years. So
That's true.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you
yeah,
want to get
yeah.
really, really technical, I mean, we did a prototype of this like 5 years ago or something.
I think we started. I think we started writing code about 2 years ago. I could be off by a couple of months, but yeah, I think it's been about 2 years. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. All right, so let's go through these aircraft one at a time. Let's give you guys a general sense of what we're expecting to see from them. But of course, a reminder that a lot of this stuff could change in Dev Branch, so try to take that with a grain of salt. This is the Colonial Scout plane. This is the plane that you will be flying if you're just a solo player and you just want to get into the sky and see what it's like. The purpose of this aircraft is it can drop mines, surface water mines, which we'll get into a little bit later. And it has very limited ammo for dogfighting, but it can potentially fight other scout planes, and it can also do a couple of strafing runs. The Colonial Fighter. This is kind of the centerpiece of all of the planes. It kind of functions as the linchpin for the entire arsenal. It's predominantly used for countering other aircraft. If an enemy is doing a bombing run, for example, this is the premier way of stopping it. It's also used for dogfighting other fighters. It shoots down scout planes pretty well. And it takes only one pilot. So, but again, as we said earlier, the ground crew is important too. You'll have to keep these things rearmed and refueled. The dive bomber. This is my personal favorite.
This is one of my favorite. It's so fun. I don't know.
It's so fun.
It's so fun to play this.
You can drop. So yeah. So this is able to drop bombs on both tanks and ships. Its main advantage is that it damages the turret, or it has subsystem disable chances. So if you're attacking ships, for example, you'll want to try your best to get a precise hit on the turrets in order to disable them. And that's why it's a dive bomber. The act of diving down towards the ship is what gives it its accuracy, and to try to drop that bomb exactly where you need it to go will be important for the effectiveness of this.
And there's actually another function for the gunner role, right, Max? You want to talk about
Yeah,
that?
that's right. Oh yeah, that's right. The rear gunner will help protect the plane from fighters, for example, that are on its tail, but it also has an air brake. So the gunner will be able to initiate an air brake, which will slow its descent, making that targeted hit a little bit easier, but that will require good teamwork and skill. The Paratrooper plane. So yeah, as Mark said, you'll be able to launch air operations and drop partisans behind enemy lines. They'll be invisible to intel for about 30 minutes, again, subject to change for balance. I want to just state that, like, for the longest time, partisans have been struggling in our game. Logistics is such a core part of our game. We had to be very careful not to disrupt their experience too much. And this Paratrooper plane is kind of our opportunity to go back to some of that original partisan experience. Feeling unsafe in the backlines is supposed to be a part of Foxhole, but we need to make sure that that's carefully balanced. So we're going to be listening to you guys' feedback about that, but keep that in mind. The goal here is to ruffle some feathers a little bit. The Colonial Heavy Bomber, this tremendous number of bombs, and it does a tremendous amount of damage. But the expectation here is that you should need a flight of them. It shouldn't just be one guy in one bomber doing tremendous amounts of damage. It's supposed to be a whole wing of them flying in formation, trying to drop their bombs on the same target. If you can do that, this thing will be extremely devastating. And one of the most effective ways to counter it will be with fighters. So you'll want to protect them as well. You'll want to have fighter wings running alongside them, and possibly escape routes. If it starts to take damage and starts to go down, you'll want to try to find a way to recover them without going down behind enemy lines.
All right, that does it for the Colonial aircraft lineup, and now let's move on to the Wardens.
Cool. The Warden Scout plane. I forgot to mention this about the Colonial Scout plane. They both float on water, as you can see from the videos, which will be important later. Again, we'll talk more about it later. Similar to the Colonial Scout plane, this one, or recon plane, this Warden recon plane drops a mini torpedo. So again, useful over water, meant to counter small ships. It's got limited ammo capacity for shooting its machine gun, but its primary purpose is to support early game and small ship naval. The Warden Sea Fighter. So this is an extra plane, which I'll talk more about a little bit later, but this is an extra plane that the Wardens get that the Colonials don't. So you'll notice the Wardens actually get this one extra fighter, and I will explain why later. This is a fighter. It's more limited in its ammo capacity. It's slower in speed than the Warden fighter, but it does provide some more short-range options, like being able to land and take off from water. The Warden fighter. This one is is symmetrical to the Colonial one, but they're not exactly the same. They both have a different feel to it. But this one has a 14.5 millimeter cannon, which is actually the AT rifle ammo, the 20 millimeter that you guys are used to. We just changed we're changing the name because 20 millimeter was a little ridiculous that people were walking around with that. So it's got the secondary armament is an AT rifle that will allow it to target lighter vehicles like armored cars on the ground, as well as strafing targets. Torpedo bomber. This one is my second favorite ship, and they're pretty close between this one and the dive bomber. This one drops 2 torpedoes. What I love about this one is to get the torpedoes into it's loaded up, you have to do the wrench thing, just like the submarines, which I just think feels really, really great. When you drop torpedoes, this is important. Take notes. When you drop torpedoes, you have to be a certain height above the water. If you're too high above the water, it'll detonate on the surface. But even at the height, if you're too high, the torpedo has to sort of go down into the water and then come back up to the surface. So if you're still pretty high, but and you drop the torpedo, you could miss your target by having the torpedo basically go under the ship that you're trying to hit. So you want to try to give yourself a lot of run time, and you want to try to get as close to the surface of the water as possible to keep the torpedo on the surface.
Actually, it's funny, Max, because I felt the same about the dive bomber being my favorite first, and then I saw this one in action later on. And I'm like, I think I'm changing my position.
Yeah.
You guys are wrong. The dive bomber is cool.
So here's the Paratrooper plane. Again, similar to the Colonial one, this one functions a little bit differently with where the parts are located, but generally speaking, it's pretty similar. There's actually something I forgot to mention about the previous Paratrooper plane. They also carry crates. This one carries a little bit more than the Colonial one, but they can carry crates on them, which are represented on the interior, which can be used for delivering them from airfield to airfield. So if you wanted to do some air logistics to bring critical supplies from one airfield to the next, you can do that on these Paratrooper planes. And the light bomber. It says light bomber, but they're pretty similar. I think it has a slightly lower bomb drop rate, but its maneuverability is better. But they're pretty similar, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. This one has 2 machine guns, one on the rear and one on the top. It does not have one on the front.
All right, it's time to talk about the next big feature of the Airborne update, which we'll start up with a video here.
So we only showed a couple of new regions there, but there's quite a few more than that.
Yes, 10 in fact, but more than that technically because we had to alter some of the existing maps a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot more changes to the world than just adding 10 new map regions. But why don't you talk about a little bit of our motivation for adding these new regions, Max?
Yeah, sure. So we really liked the symmetrical view of the world, but it was we had to add some more maps because something we were feeling was that the naval gameplay was getting somewhat suffocated. Like there wasn't enough space to really maneuver. We watched a bunch of you guys' really great YouTube videos talking about the naval battles, and they tended to happen across 2 regions, even 3 regions, even. Which is super awesome. But like that's the whole ocean. We needed more space if we're going to add aircraft to it, which could cross 1 or 2 regions or more, right? So we had to somehow add space, but we didn't want to take away from the land game. So we felt like we had no choice. We had to expand out. We had to create more playable ocean space so that you guys could have battles that didn't play out the same way every time.
I mean, and one of the big things that has been talked about before is more ocean space. Like that's something I've seen a lot of players talking about since before Naval, even just having more like ocean tiles in general. So this was a good time to do it, and also it adds a lot of variety and new ways to interact with like the airborne gameplay and the naval gameplay. So one of the cool side effects of this is we get to explore a little bit more of some regions in the lore that maybe we hadn't previously. So a lot of the new, I think all of the new northern regions are in Nicknevin, and all the southern region, all the new southern maps except for Lycos Isle are in the in Veli, so we have even more Velian maps as well now, so that it'll be kind of cool. And some people who may have followed the development and all the way back to our old our older map concept art will recognize some of the names that show up.
Okay, I'm gonna actually show the new map before you guys keep talking.
Yeah, well, and one thing I will say too is some of the visuals are still work in progress, so just keep that in mind as we go into the dev branch and stuff like that.
Yeah, same with this map image. This is a work in progress, so you'll notice the mountains are really hard to see. That's just work in progress, but you can, I think if you zoom in, you can probably gather a pretty good idea of what's being changed here. I think the main thing you want to look at is how take a look at the roads on these new larger islands, these multi-region large items. They're somewhat different. I'll let you guys speculate about what that means. You'll notice we've had some places. We've made fingers basically a whole island because of how awesome it was and how much you loved it. But what we really loved about the fingers, we noticed from a lot of you guys' gameplay, was that fingers reached into Reaver's Pass, and that was a big part of the reason that people really focused on it, and it was the center of so much conflict. And we really liked that, so we kind of did the same thing in several places here. We wanted to reach into the mainland so that you guys, when you take this island, it actually has meaning. Taking this larger island means like an easier jump off point for actually getting back onto the mainland.
All right. Are we done yet, Max? I think maybe we have a bit more here. Yeah, actually, there is something cool here. Where we talked a lot about this update, about you know, about planes, about the graphical overhaul, about the new maps. And there is actually a second update we worked on to include in this airborne update. And we're going to show it to you now. Naval Warfare Part 2, Max?
It just keeps going. No, this is not really Naval Warfare
No,
Part
it's
2.
not.
We're
I'm
this is
overselling it,
let's
yeah.
And that's not all though. But anyway, that's just a teaser.
we would love to come back to Naval Warfare, but this is not that. So this is what we really wanted to expand on was the early war naval gameplay specifically. A lot of you guys, we watched some of the early game naval gameplay, and it was lacking. We saw barges with HE grenades. Basically, that was the
You don't like the
culmination.
barge
of early...
battles, Max?
No, I really hated the barge battles for so long. So now we wanted to expand on this. We wanted to give we wanted there to be an actual game in the Navy in the early start of the game. We wanted to give more accessible naval options. Like these were the smaller groups of players don't want to build a giant destroyer to get into the naval game. They want more than just the gunboat. So this is for them. And we wanted to give the scout planes a dedicated combat function because we don't want scout planes to really stifle the infantry gameplay in the early game, like over land. So we wanted to really emphasize a purpose and a combat role that wasn't going to just be that wasn't just going to kill infantry and do strafing runs. So these guys, that's why they got the surface mine and the mini torpedo. Their main role is in this early war naval game. So we've got a new kind of mine, which is a surface mine, which is used for countering small ships. We've got an underwater mine, which you guys have seen, but now you can place it on the surface. But this mine is what's used for countering larger ships or large ships. And all these mines can be placed as splines now and maintained as structures. So you don't just place them down and they last for 2 days. They have to be maintained with maintenance supplies, and they can be destroyed with damage. So they're an actual structure now. The role of scout planes is to interdict logistics and to help scout for these minefields. Ships, we have a lot of different ships, as you saw in the video, that have different specific roles like anti-air, anti-ship, and shore bombardment. And we added a new light freighter, which is meant to deliver crates directly from one seaport to another seaport in smaller amounts. It can also deliver crates directly from a seaport to a storage ship, which is the bluefin, which you can use to support your naval landings.
Right.
So here's the mine boat. This was really cool. The work that was done on this is exemplary, and it was we used some of the stuff that comes from the construction equipment. So there's a really cool animation where the mines sort of drop off the back and then get submitted to the build site. But we'll let you guys sort of give that a shot. It's got a machine gun on the back, which can help protect it against scout planes. The light freighter I explained a little bit earlier, it represents the crates themselves are represented on the deck of the ship. So if you're attacking a light freighter, you actually know if it's full.
That's really cool.
There's a lot of those memes of like, oh, my bluefin was empty. But now this one, there's no denying if you killed something with value. The light boat, this is used predominantly for escorting ships. This is pretty effective at countering like any aircraft, really. So it's useful for escorting like the larger ships as well. This one's pretty fast. It uses a new type of ammo that is specific for countering aircraft. It shreds the scout planes, so if you see one of these, avoid it. Similar for the Wardens, theirs is a little bit larger, a little bit tougher, but it performs a similar role, but it's slower.
Drop a little bit of the renders here.
And I like that each of these have deck space that, like, even if you don't want to use it for its intended purpose, you can still walk around on there with guns and use it for anything. It's a sandbox game. The medium boat. So this is the one that's meant to counter other small boats. So think of this kind of like a tank on the water. It's meant to shoot at other ships, the infantry boats, the freighters. It could be used for raiding, but or protecting your logistics chains. It should be noted. Well, I guess we'll get to the next one. So a similar thing for the Warden gunboat or the Warden medium boat. This is like their light tank of the sea, meant to be the premier way of destroying other ships. It's worth mentioning that these are shipyard vehicles. These are not facility. These are all shipyard, right? Because like we don't have vehicles for these ships yet. These are like the base vehicles of these ships. You don't need to build facilities for these.
Yeah, it's accurate to say, Max, that one of the driving forces of this is just to just allow more players to participate in the naval game.
Yep. And they're not even I could be, maybe I'll just save that then. I'm not actually completely sure, but it's meant to be accessible for everybody.
Yeah.
And the siege boat. So there's a bombardment. There's a way to bombard the shore with these things. These are all early game vehicles, I should note. These are like very early game. Think like the first couple days of the war, you'll be able to run these. So they have these bunker busters early war. They are extremely powerful for busting things open near the shoreline. And that's intended so that you guys can still potentially perform naval landings early on in the game, but they're limited to the sea. And remember, there are sea mines. So even though there's quite a powerful shore bombardment weapon now, remember there's also ways to protect against these sort of things. We did a new colonial gunboat.
What's different about this one, Max?
It has an interior space, which nobody asked for. There has been an ongoing complaint that the Warden gunboat is just superior in every way, and one of the main criticisms was that it has this interior space where players can be protected. So we tried our best to alter it in days past, and you'll notice that we still use it in the shore bombardment ship. So we've just changed its role to something new, and instead, in place, we've given you this brand new colonial gunboat. So they should be way more symmetrical, the colonial gunboat and the Warden gunboat. And these gunboats, the gunboats are important. They are still the only way for small ships to attack large ships. All of these other ships, they're not going to be effective at killing large ships. The large ships are still, when you see them, they still should dominate the seas. And here's the Warden siege boat. This is the Warden equivalent of the shore bombardment one. Again, remember this is early war. They will be powerful, but there are mines now to mitigate against them. It's cool that you can actually see the mines on the deck. It's not shown in this render, but that little pallet there, you can put the shells down. You actually have to walk them to the gun, which is really neat for a small ship. We didn't want to leave the large ships out in the cold. There's a lot of changes that we made to the large ships, but again, this is not the major. We'd love to make more changes to large ships, but these were the ones we needed to make now. We felt like the damage control gameplay, for players who were doing damage control, we felt like it was just way too rudimentary. It was too one-dimensional. So we wanted to give you guys more stuff to think about, more things to prioritize, and we wanted to address some key criticisms about large holes. So large holes can now be repaired with metal beams. But if a new leak opens in that compartment, it will reopen the large hole. So you'll still want to take these things to dry dock to repair them, but the large holes won't be as devastating as they were before. You'll still, we just didn't want you guys bailing water 100% of the operation. We just needed to give you an option to disable that. The disabled turrets can now be repaired, but it will take a large number of metal beams. So losing a turret in the midst of a fight will still be devastating and will still give damage control crews something to think about. But you can repair it so that losing a turret doesn't mean the end of the operation. You'll be able to reload all the barrels at once with a longer reload time. We did this because we want the damage control crews to feel like they have more things to think about. So you want to communicate to the gunners. You don't want the gunner to just keep hitting R whenever they can. You want to tell them when to reload because all 3 shells are in. So give you guys more stuff to think about and do. And of course, that I mentioned this earlier, the underwater mine can be placed on the surface. So now you need to be aware of mines. So keep an eye out. You'll want people on the decks looking out for those mines.
All right. This brings us to the final feature and piece of content for the Airborne update. One last thing, which I think everyone's going to be hopefully excited about.
Yes. Nobody asked for this.
This has never been mentioned by anyone ever. No one's
Yeah.
ever wanted these vehicles in the game.
The Colonial Aircraft Carrier. So this one is there's two aircraft that can launch from this, the dive bomber and the fighter plane. So there's an advantage to being able to launch the fighter because the fighter is the premier weapon for protecting against like bombing runs and other aircraft. So being able to launch a basic fighter from the ocean is the Colonials' biggest advantage. The dive bombers, you'll also be able to launch from this thing to help attack and assist against other ships. And you can rearm them here as well. But and we spent some time, a lot of time, trying to like fine tune how hard it is to take off and land on these things. It will take a challenge. It will take a lot of skill, but it is doable, and it's awesome when you can. When you finally figure out how to do it, it just feels great. That elevator goes up and down. There's whole roles associated with that for like repairing and maintaining aircraft on these things. The Warden aircraft carrier. So, like I mentioned earlier, the Wardens get an extra fighter, something that the Colonials simply don't. And now I hope it becomes clear why. The point of this fighter is to launch it from this aircraft carrier. This fighter was designed for this aircraft carrier. It's you can fly in, you'll land next to the ship, and then you'll be able to crane it back up on and rearm it, and then and bring along these aircraft with you. It's a lot easier to take off and land with these, and again, you don't have to use the aircraft carrier with these aircraft. They can fly off, and you can rearm it on other places. But having this aircraft carrier is what's going to enable your naval fleets to bring the aircraft with you, to have that mobile airfield that allows you to rearm and refuel right next to the front and allow the aircraft to get the maximum out of it.
And brings us to the release date. So, Airborne's going to be arriving on February the 9th. So look out for that date. And there's something else to talk about. So we've been working on Foxhole for a long time, and to celebrate the 10 years of Foxhole development, we're going to be launching a special edition of the game on Steam. And this edition is for longtime players. We're intending it for players that have been with us for years who want to support the project and support the updates and hopefully get a few extra things. And we'll talk about those extra things. One of them, there's going to be a art book, and this is really cool. It's going to be hundreds of pages of concept art from the history of the game over the 10 years. And there's going to be lore and development notes included as a part of this. And the next thing is there's going to be a soundtrack that includes all the music from the game. And just to note, all the music is done by our local composer, Ram DePrisco, that is local to Toronto, which we're based out of. And he's been working with us for the 10 years making music for all the way from the first trailer we launched to the updates throughout the year, and the Inferno update. New tracks were added, and we've just even up till last year or a year and a half ago, we added some new tracks. So all that's all included in one place here.
I mean, as a fun fact, with since we're on the topic, Ram has actually also worked with us on our previous game as well, and will be working with us in the future on Anvil. So it's a long-term collaborator.
Yeah, and we're also going to be including some new exclusive illustrations that are focused on the lore side of Foxhole. These are really cool. The concept art team has worked really hard on this, and I some of these illustrations are just really amazing. I've just been completely blown away, and we're just really excited that we're going to be able to give this to you guys in wallpaper form for your phone and your desktop. And there's two in-game things, and these are again in theme with Foxhole's development history. First is you're going to be able to change your UI to be themed like prior updates. So this includes entrenchment, arms race, Winter Army, Inferno, and basically all of the major update themes are going to be included here. You can switch into UI, you can randomize it, and it's just a cool thing to be able to change your background in game. And finally, there's going to be a supporter badge to show that you have been a supporter of the game. And that's it. There's no skins. There's no season pass type stuff. This is all just some things to celebrate the long history of Foxhole development, and it's gonna be coming on February 9th, but the page should be coming up now or soon on Steam, and you can go there and add it to your wish list so you can be notified to get it on launch day. And again, this edition is for longtime players who want to support the project. And if you are able to get it, I do want to note that a lot of the content here has been available on the website or in blog form for free for some time. A lot of the concept art, every major update, we do a blog post that contains all the concept art for the update, and that's not going to change. That's we're going to be doing one of those posts for this update as well, and that's going to remain free, as well as some of the music tracks you can also get on our website. So that stuff is going to change.
There will probably be a lot of new insights and look into the development that I don't know that we've talked about before, or concepts that maybe didn't
there
hit.
There are new things that are part of this, but just wanted to clarify that we're not going to be taking away anything or doing less. So that's basically it. And let's see what we have. Oh yeah, so just to talk about the schedule, couple of things happening in the next couple of weeks. First, the Airborne gameplay trailer, official trailer, voiced by Jeffrey Jennings from Press Corps, who has, once again, we're very grateful that they've helped us with the trailer, voiced by them, and that's something that will be dropping, I think, any moment, and hopefully we can get that into chat, because it's an amazing, well, I think the voiceover is amazing. I like the trailer too, but the voiceover always just sort of elevates these trailers so much. So, and after this stream, there's going to be a Q&A on the Foxhole Reddit. January 20th, Dev Branch opens the pre-patch war. And we're also going to be doing a concept art dev blog post. And the date's February 5th there. That may change depending on our schedule. I didn't mark that as a tentative thing, but that will be coming one way or another. And like I said, we're going to continue to post our concept art on our blog. And then finally, February 9th is the launch day. And then the one thing that we do want to stress is that we do have new updates coming in 2026. This is there is actually some content and features that we initially wanted to do for the Airborne update, but we couldn't. But that's starting to shape up into some content and feature that is going to be coming through 2026. And I think that is about it. So yeah, again, this is the end of the stream, but everybody encourage you to go over and watch the Airborne trailer, as it's cool. And that's it. That's it, Matt.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And the Dev Branch will be launching in parts soon. And so we'd love to get your feedback on all of the features that we will be sharing with the Dev Branch, so that we can make sure that your voices are also heard on all of that stuff. And I've not had to say this in a while, so it's I gotta like loosen up a little bit before I kind of get into it.
Stretch. Crack your neck.
Yeah, you just gotta. But as always, stay foxy. See you next time.
All right. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. A lot to unpack. This is gonna be fun. So a couple things real quick. If you guys don't mind, hit the like button. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. I do have another facilities video coming out, hopefully tomorrow. It's done. I just got to get it uploaded. Also going to be uploading more of these music soundtracks to the music playlist. But I appreciate all of you for joining. We'll end it here in just a few minutes. I'm going to play some music for you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Boots sunk deep in the winter mud. Blue coat frayed, but the hands stay tough. Hammer hanging off a crooked belt. Another fortress built from scrap and rust. Rusty nails, wooden walls that shake. Every shell turns the sky bone gray. He just mutters, this won't break. Not on my watch, not today. From timber to stone, I'm pouring my heart in the ground. Every wall I raise is a promise I won't back down. Wet concrete in the cold, I'm carving a future for you. I bleed for this line, for this flag, for the wardens in concrete and blue. Yeah, blue. He drags that cart down a crater road. Metal clanks like a broken drum. Counting comes like the sacred gold. Every stack means I'll see the sun. Mixing dust with the rain and fear. Hands gone numb, but the goal's so clear. Keep the guns fit, keep the walls high. If I stand back, they all die. From timber to stone, I'm pouring my heart in the ground. Every wall I raise is a promise I won't back down. Wet concrete in the cold, I'm carving a future for you. I bleed for this line, for this flag, for the wardens in concrete and blue. In blue. I'm not the hero in the spotlight. I'm in the trenches with the rebar and the frost. Every upgrade is a lifeline. Every bucket is a cost. So if the thunder finds me first, tell 'em I built this place to last. Lay my hammer by the bunker doors and hold the line, hold it fast. Yeah, blue. Shout my name through the mortar smoke. When the wood finally cracks and chokes, I'll be there with my busted hands turning broken ground into one last day. I'm not the hero. Yeah, blue. Yeah,
Report to factory. Printed on the paper slip. High step, helmet crooked. Boots squeak. Nervous quips. He the warden with the warp grin. Lunchbox fork 10, talking about he born to win. Pockets full of poorly folded orders from the quartermaster, muttering his motto, marching faster toward disaster. High voice, oversharing, overbearing, way too proud, bragging how he'll break the front and gets misplaced in the crowd. They point him to the smokestacks, choking, broken windows rattle. Congratulations, private, you just won yourself a factory battle. Conveyor belt screaming demons made of grease and rust, forming with the clipboard, ticking boxes, twisting trust. Sign here, soldiers serve the war, serve the machine, serve the quota. He salutes a busted poster, cough through clouds of metal odor. Clock in, black out, your teeth, grime out. You ain't on the front line now, you just feed the bees for the crowd. Clock in, black out, hang pride, punch out. They don't need your name or your vow, they just need your hands right now. He imagined he'd be dashing through the craters with the banner. Now he's stacking stamp casings, taking orders with the stammer. Every lever, every measure, every second under pressure. Hero speech turns into sir, I really gotta use the restroom. Comrades in the trenches, talk of legends, tall and bloody. Meanwhile he's in muddy overalls, thumbing through a safety study. Proper posture, poster says in cheerful font. While a veteran on the catwalk coughs and laughs, that's what you want. Satirical syllabus, how to serve and swerve accountability. Turn your spine into a spindle, spin utility for futility. He salutes a time clock, high-pitched anthem to efficiency. Left, right, lefty chance, inventing fake proficiency. Clock in, black out, your teeth, grime out. You ain't on the front line now, you just feed the bees for the crowd. Clock in, black out, hang pride, punch out. They don't need your name or your vow, they just need your hands right now. He wanted metal, got metal shaving. Wanted glory, got inventory. Wanted stories, got styles. Wanted a war, gotta work for. Wanted a war, gotta workflow. Clock in, black